Well, let's get in here. Michelle, great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute after the show today.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'll switch now to looking at the camera. Sorry, I'm so used.
No,
I
you're
really
fine.
so want to look at you.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
So let's begin our journey into your world as an author and the coach's coach by asking you
hmm
this. 6 years ago, we all kind of came to that fork in the road with COVID. Things were changing all around us. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you do things today?
Yeah. Well, how far out into the woo do you want me to go? Like, I can be very practical and answer it very practically. Or,
I want you to be you. I want you to
okay.
be you.
So here's the thing. I had been teaching, especially this workshop around money that my book is based on, Wired for Money is based on this money magic workshop. I've been teaching it all over, in places that are not known for their expanded consciousness, like, just old kind of money places, Switzerland, Hong Kong, Taipei, Stockholm, London, Australia. And I had noticed over the years this sort of acceleration of consciousness and this real interest in an expanded consciousness. And it was in 2019, I noticed it really escalating. And by the way, that's when I got COVID. We got it before it was famous and had all the branding. We
Yeah.
got it in July of 2019 when we went to Melbourne and Sydney to teach. And it wasn't bad. I mean, I'd never had the flu. It was like a day and a half of for me, and I fainted during while I was teaching. And then my partner had it for about a day and a half, and then it was done. But I had a fever, and I never get a fever unless I need like an identity update. And I hadn't had one in like 20 years. And over the course of the next year, my whole internal landscape changed, but I was seeing it everywhere around me. And on February 17th, 2020, I did an interview. I was doing a podcast interview like this. And I said, I don't know what's going on because the acceleration of consciousness is like this. And on the surface, everything looks the same. I said, that's not sustainable. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
And within 2 weeks, everything shut down.
Yeah.
And like the world got a huge timeout and this huge reevaluation happened for people and reorientation. Um, I, not the disease, but the pause was such a gift. And so I didn't know how I would do given that so much of my work was workshops, but I switched them to online and it turned out to translate. I was amazed at the intimacy you can create online
Yeah.
in teaching. And those first couple of years were some of my best years ever.
What a great answer, because those that are energetically sensitive and feeling what the planet was getting ready to go through. I remember one of the last shows I saw live was at the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art here in Kansas City. And it
Mhm.
was a weird configuration. It was a great configuration, but it was this trio of eclectic musicians. And at one point, it was March 3rd, I just heard about the first COVID case that happened in Missouri or Kansas. And at one point, the singer, her name is Petra Hayden, said, join me. And she was singing We Shall Overcome. And everybody just started standing and everybody started swaying and singing We Shall Overcome. And I was like, whoa, because we all felt like something was happening. It was all ramping up. And then, of course, it was an eclectic show. So right after that, she went into David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust. So, but it was that idea that at that
Yeah.
moment, we were like cattle in a field that knew the tornado was getting ready to come. We just knew
Yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And had this instinctive urge to like join, like,
right.
right? That connection, which I think is what is gonna emerge from, even though it seemed to come from this period of isolation. I think that there's a much more trend towards heart-centered connection and living.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier about that.
Yeah, it's interesting when I think about even 2019 and 26, just how vastly different we are all as a people, how
Yeah.
much the world has changed.
Yeah.
Just it's almost like a metaphor for AI. It's like every year things exponentially just spin in a
Yeah.
different way, you know?
Yeah.
So so
Yeah.
let's get into the work that you're doing right now. I'm going to put you in front of 12-year-olds. You're at career day, and one of the
Uh-huh.
kids wants you to synthesize your work day to make sense to their brains. How do you explain your job?
That's a good question for 12-year-olds. I help people to get what they want, especially when they're stuck, when they can't figure out how to get what they want, when they have to do a lot of stuff they don't want to do, or they have to work too hard, or they can't find, relationship, or they don't feel well. I help them to change that so they feel better, they get what they want, they have more love or money or whatever they want in a way that feels really good.
How did that happen for you? Did you have an epiphany that made you get to this point where you're helping people do the same thing?
Um, I looked for a long time for what I wanted to do because I didn't know what it was, and quite frankly, it didn't really exist until, I mean, it did exist, but not in a form that I would have been attracted to. And I think I found it about as early as I could. I was 32, and I had been really looking for something that had meaning, and somebody put a flyer in my hand for this free training, and I went. And within 15 minutes, I thought, oh, this is what I want to do because it was a NLP, neuro linguistic programming workshop. Terrible name for great stuff. It's got a bad reputation in some circles, for deservedly so. There's a lot of people, because the tools are so powerful, there are people who have used them to manipulate and stuff like that. But the tools used right are just life changing. And so I'd always wanted to, I thought briefly about being a therapist, but the idea of just listening to how bad things were and not being able to do anything about it was not attractive. It was just way too much like my childhood. So, but here I could actually do something because it's a lot about rewiring. And although they didn't necessarily have those words at first, like when I started this, the convention, I started teaching in 1995, and the conventional wisdom in science was that neuroplasticity was impossible. And then, but we were doing it because the guys who started, well, it wasn't all guys, but the people who started NLP, they were modeling what other people were doing that was getting changes nobody else could, that even they didn't understand how it happened. And so these guys were like trying to figure out what's the one thing these people were doing that was making these changes happen and stick. And so they finally kind of narrowed it down and narrowed it down till they found the pieces that worked. And that was the genesis of NLP. And a lot of it is basically finding a way to get the brain to rewire in a way that's advantageous for us, in a way that aims, that takes us from the places we're stuck and aims us towards the things we want kind of automatically. So
So,
yeah, I was all in.
yeah, so let me ask you this. When you were 12 years old, I'm going to go back to that career
Uh-huh.
day room.
Uh-huh.
What did you want to be when you grew up? What was your dream gig?
Yeah, I figured I would either be a marine biologist, a meteorologist, or a comedy writer for TV. Those were my options.
That's a pretty cool mix of things. So, how did you get here? Take me back to your
Yeah.
childhood, your beginnings. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Miami,
Okay.
Florida. Um, and I can appreciate it now, but not a great fit for me then. And so as soon as I went to college, I picked someplace about as different as I could find, which was Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah.
And great school, great program because they were always sending you off to do things, go off for an internship, go off for a foreign study, go off for a project. And I liked that. And I loved it actually there. And it had 4 seasons, which I actually really enjoyed. And the snow didn't bother me at all. The blizzards didn't bother me at all. Um, so, and I afterwards, I was able to get a visa to live in London and work in London for 6 months, which was great. And then I ended up teaching environmental ed for a while. This environmental school, because I was going to be an English major, I ended up being a theater major. And this school hired theater majors to teach science to their kids because they discovered it was easier to teach theater people science than to teach science people how to be interesting. So, yeah, so I did stuff all over. And it wasn't until like I was 32 that I found this work. And then I've been in it ever since. I've been teaching it. I've been doing workshops all over the world. I self-published my first book, which is now being an updated version, being republished by Sounds True, which is now St. Martin's, which is part of Macmillan. And yeah, I love the teaching. I love the people. So I found my home.
So, on that journey to finding home, who has been that inspirational force, that heroic force in your life?
Huh. Well, I had a fantastic teacher, Carl Buchheit. Um, I also got to learn from Bert Hellinger while he was still alive, which was amazing, and the late great Richard Bartlett, who created matrix energetics. So I had great teachers. Um, honest, so my main inspirations probably are not of this world.
Yeah,
But I've always known that I never teach alone. I never teach alone. I always have help. And and one of the most beautiful things, especially in the last few years, is I often feel like I get to see people through the universe's eyes. And I had it happen once at this training. These folks didn't know me. I was brought in to teach. And so they had no idea of my work. And so I was trying to get to know them, let them get to know me. And I asked, what do you want to come out of this? And this one beautiful man, this beautiful soul, he raised his hand. He said, I just want to be the best version of me. And in a split second, it's like I saw him and I saw him as the universe sees him. And I was just overwhelmed with emotion. It was a while before I could actually talk. And finally, I just looked at this guy and I said, buddy, box ticked, already there.
yeah,
So now what would you like? And that's one of the things that a lot of my teaching is about, is helping people to feel their enoughness, their worth, their beauty, the gift that they are. Um, because we spend way too much time trying to earn our worth, prove our worth, deserve good things. We're the only species on the planet who does that. Like trees aren't like apologizing for their existence.
yeah,
Cats aren't like, oh, have I been cat enough today? This is a really human thing.
yeah.
So that those instances and the beautiful responses I get from people about how their lives have changed, that's food for my soul.
So the one thing that you mentioned with this gentleman you talked about is that you saw him. And
Yeah,
I think sometimes when we're growing up, we just want people to see us for who we are. Well,
yeah.
did you ever have a moment like that growing up where you got validated for who you are? Someone saw who you were and it fueled you to go to that next place?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, no. That was I probably didn't get a hint of that until my 40s.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so I know what it's like on the other side of that.
yeah,
Yeah. And my parents weren't bad people. They just had no reference for who I was, you know?
yeah. So if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find inspirational, fascinating, that might help you on your journey, who would you love to meet, have a lunch with, and talk to?
It's going to sound so, it's so unoriginal, but I swear to God, I went to the Eras tour in New Orleans, Taylor Swift,
Yeah,
and what I saw her create in that stadium and in the city of New Orleans, I had never seen anything like it. And neither had the city of New Orleans, because I talked to locals. Anybody that can create that degree of connection and safety and just heart-centered connection, that's incredibly special. But I'd be in line behind a couple billion people, so I'm not holding out on that. But
yeah,
that was truly, when people say they feel I actually I'm going to do at some point a series of Instagram posts, because uh, I know what creates change. This is what I've been doing for 30 years. I know the components that have to happen for people to really heal things and change things. And a lot of people have said that going to your concerts, listening to our music is healing. And I started going through the components of what it takes to create change, and they're not wrong. Like in both her writing and storytelling, and in the space that she has somehow created, the elements for what you need to actually access the parts of the brain that hold the old hurt or belief or trauma, um, getting access to that. Her songwriting and storytelling are incredibly good at that, and then creating an experience of feeling seen and validated, witnessed, and then a resource, especially in the concert. If you have to rewire something, you have to make neural connections between the place that's stuck that holds the trauma, which is usually a different part of the brain from our conscious mind. Most people are trying to change subconscious blocks consciously. And that's why change is so hard because they're working in the wrong place. But the emotion and the storytelling gets access to the place where the old patterning is stored. And then if you're in a stadium with 70, 80, what was it, 90,000 people who are singing, which creates all kinds of positive chemicals, and in this group mind, which creates this huge euphoria, that is a really potent resource because the resource that you connect into the trauma has to have at least as much wattage as the pain, or it won't really change it. So I just find it fascinating, and I'm always looking for more ways to create more change for more people. So anyway,
Yeah.
very long answer to your question, but
No, I love it. And, coming out of Kansas City, there's a connection. And I've always found it weird that people hate on her because she
yeah,
is such a positive force and she's
yeah,
doing a lot of good things. I always think, because sometimes I'll hear about entourages taking them into places here because they can't do it in broad daylight. I just
yeah,
keep hoping that at some point, maybe they'll just be in disguise and they'll just be somewhere. And it's like, all right, they made it out. They're good.
yeah,
They,
yeah,
but I don't know that they can ever do it. But yeah, what she's doing, I've heard people that have been to the Eras Tour, and what she's
yeah,
doing is absolutely amazing. And if any human being out there just feels like they need to dislike that, I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
It's weird.
yeah,
So let me ask you this. You have to delve into the human mind, and the human mind can have all these murky levels of things.
yeah.
You're changing lives. You have to operate at a high level. You have a soul. What is that every day for you to wake up to do all of this work at a high
Uh-huh.
level and to keep your hope afloat?
Yeah. Actually, people don't often ask me, they say, you must hear a lot of terrible things. And it's true. I do hear a lot of terrible things. And they must say, like, how is that for you? And it's like, well, in the session, I get to be there when it gets better,
Yeah.
And so it's almost like that experience of seeing someone give birth every day. The labor part is horrible, or well, not always horrible, but it's intense. But then you see this beautiful thing come out of it. And so it takes a lot of focus and a lot of, so, I can get tired sometimes if you've ever had to listen to like staticky, recordings or watch a really grainy recording, how you get tired because you're having to listen so hard.
Yeah.
So on a feeling level, I have to listen so hard to stuff that's fairly often below the surface. So I do get tired, but I don't get downcast or despondent about the world because I get to see it get better all the time, and that's a real privilege.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into a younger version of you. Say you're 18 years old and you walk into a room and there's a
Uh-huh.
film projector. You come
Uh-huh.
in, you click play, and a 60-second highlight reel of your life comes up on the wall.
Uh-huh.
Is that young version of you going to believe that your life turned out this way?
I think so. Because I think part of what even though really struggled with self-worth, that was a big deal for me. That's why in all my workshops, well, it's a big deal for most people. In all my workshops, I'm always addressing feelings of, not enoughness or lack of worth. So I struggled with that pretty severely, but I think part of the distress of those first 18 years was I was not in my right place. And this feels like my right place. And so I think it wouldn't be a surprise, it would be a huge relief, I think. Like, okay, because that feels right.
Yeah.
That feels like what I can do.
So out of that 60-second highlight reel, what are you the happiest about? What are you the proudest of?
Um, hmm, that's a good question. It's a very good question. Some of it's simple. I remember hearing somebody say once, when your children see you, do their eyes light up? And I don't have children, but I have pets, and cats who are particular. So I still get a real thrill when, when they see me, their tails go up. That's the cat version.
Yeah.
Um, but the people that I have worked with, there are people that I've worked with for many who are students of mine for many, many years, and who have gotten to a place where they've learned so much of this. Not only have they learned so much of these skills, but they have embodied them to the point where if they're helping me at a workshop and somebody's stuck, I can tell two of them, just go stand over by that person. You can do stuff or not, I don't care. But just by the who they're being, when they go stand near these people, you can watch things change because they're just the embodiment of so much kindness and respect and love and possibility. And I'm incredibly proud of that. I have to give them most of the credit, but if I had any part of it, I'm incredibly proud of that.
One of my favorite viral little videos that I've seen is when couples reunite. Like one's waiting and they're getting all excited. It's like because there's that communication when you're close, and
Hmm.
it's like and especially animals too. I mean, you could be
Hmm.
gone for 30 minutes and the dog's jumping around like they haven't seen you for 2 years. It's quite a
Yeah,
thing. It's a
yeah.
great thing. So everyone has a perception of you. Family,
Uh-huh.
friends, clients, everyone that knows you and all these different bubbles that you live in. But you
Uh-huh.
run the show ultimately. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Uh, well, at my core, I think I'm a teacher, and but only for those who want what I'm teaching. So I'm quiet a lot in a lot of social gatherings because um, most a lot of people are not at those gatherings to be taught, um, or to have their beliefs questioned or challenged or anything like that. And so I'm quiet a lot. But I'm happiest, I'm most myself when I'm either teaching or with people who are um, really expanding their own life, their own consciousness, and exploring, beyond time and space, what it means to be not just a human, but a soul in this universe. And those conversations never get old for me. So that's where I'm in my happy place when we're talking about the goodness that's unfolding, because I see so much goodness that's coming out of this chaos. And I see what looks like chaos to me is this evolution of human consciousness. Anybody who's ever remodeled anything in their house can tell you that from almost the day it starts to almost the day it ends, it's utter chaos and you wish you'd never been born.
Yeah.
And then it's done and you have this beautiful new thing. And I really think that's what we're in now is this remodel, deep remodel of human consciousness. And I get very excited about what's coming. Did I answer your question, Joe?
You did, and I love that
Okay.
metaphor. That's such a wonderful metaphor for
Okay.
how life works. So, Wired for Money, give me the elevator pitch before we get
Oh, yeah,
into
yeah.
talk to
Oh,
me a
yeah.
little bit about who needs it. Yes,
Yeah.
and what you hope the reader gets out of it.
Yeah. Because most people are trying to solve their money blocks consciously. And if you could do that, we would all be transforming every day. And the biggest blocks to what we want are subconscious. They are not, they're an entirely different part of the brain. So if your brain were a building, subconscious would be the basement, your conscious mind would be the attic. If you've got old faulty wiring in the basement and you send a team of electricians up to the penthouse to talk about it, to the attic to talk about it, okay, but somebody's got to go into the basement at some point. And so, what this book does, because there are people who are never going to come to a workshop or work with me one on one, this gives them tools where they can start to revise the blocks, the things that they like the old beliefs that you have to work hard to make money. So not true. That you're not enough. You have to work hard to deserve it, et cetera, et cetera. This you can use over and over again. And there's different patterns for different kinds of blocks to revise those so they're just different. You don't have to keep trying to make them different. They change, and then your life starts to unfold differently.
So, if anybody wants to get a copy of the book,
Hmm.
if they want to reach out, they want to hire you, they have questions, any of the good business, where do they
Yeah.
go?
Wiredformagic.com. You can find the book there, get the first 3 chapters for free. And or you can find out more about courses in me.
So I want to leave on a high note here,
Uh-huh.
and you seem to have a tremendous sense of wonder and wonder in you. If you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history unfold with your own eyes, where would you go? What would you love to have seen happen live?
Wow. Such a good question.
There's so much stuff too.
Yeah, so much history to go through. Um, honest, so something like seeing the pyramids get built,
Yeah,
that would be pretty incredible.
yeah.
That would be pretty incredible seeing, watching the layers of that happen. That would be pretty cool.
And I think that watching that, because I hear that answer a lot,
Oh
that
yeah?
could potentially be a domino effect of unraveling all of these mysteries of whether it was
Hmm.
aliens and superior
Yes.
race and was there a
Yeah.
future? Because there's what was the name of the book? There was a book. They turned it into a movie in the late 70s. Oh, I'm just
Oh,
totally
about the chariots of the gods.
Chariots of the Gods. Yes.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I do believe that there's a future race that came back and said, "Whoa, you guys, we gotta figure something out here."
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that idea. Did you
Yeah.
read the book and see the show?
My dad had it. I think I did read it. And I don't know if I saw them. I've seen at least parts of the movie. But I remember as a teenager, I would hear people talk about the pyramids and Stonehenge, and they would talk about them as burial sites. And I would get so mad. And I don't know where I knew this from, but I knew, no, they are not burial sites. There may be people buried there, but that's not what they're for.
Yeah,
And it was like, I don't know where that came from, but I would get super mad because it's like every cell in my body's like, no, these are not burial sites.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, this has been
Yeah.
wonderful. I will put all these links in the show notes. Thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for your story. Thank you for taking time out today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Joe. So lovely to meet you.
Great to meet you. And I operate.